All right, good morning and welcome to the Finance and Fiscal Resources Committee. It's Tuesday, February 6th. We have a couple items on the agenda this morning. So our first item on the agenda is public comment, and it looks like we have a number of members who are interested in speaking today. So I will give you 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address, and we look forward to hearing from you.
How you doing, everyone? I'm D. Jones, a very, very passionate, very happy individual because a press release just went out that on June 8th of 2024, we'll be hosting a $100,000 esports finals at the DeVos Theater. And it's Black History, 29 days of Black History, but every day, 365 is actually Black History, if I'm being honest. And I'm just very excited to be able to bring this event here. Economic change is going to happen, and I came here because I'm an independent and I like working with both parties, but I need both political parties to equitably and bipartisanly legislate resources to our community. People have been struggling for too long, people of color, and you guys have the power to change that. I have the power to change that. And I use the resources and I grind hard every single day, and I never fake and I never pretend who I am with you guys. And I'm really going to bring economic change. And I put my love and my passion in everything that I got into this vision every single day. And I came here to every single committee that I can make it, and every single King County board, and every city council, everything that I could to really be able to see change. I'm Black, I'm African American. This is the second worst place for African Americans to live in, but it's one of the best places for white people to live. But people don't ever say that and be truthful about those things when articles like that go out to the news. And so I'm not here to be fake. I'm here to be as bold as I can to with everybody to their face. Change is going to come. I'm going to put all the love and energy and passion I have into seeing economic change. The police department, the fire departments, the sheriff departments, all of these departments. You guys are going to have to work together. We're going to have to work together to see change. You guys on this board are going to have to work with me to see change. And if you don't like it, okay, you're still going to hear about these things. You guys have probably heard about the things that I've done for the community already. And it's still going to be a lot of things that go out to the news and all of these different powerful news outlets and all of these powerful outlets. I'm just very excited to plug in with you guys. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be crazy. It's going to be super powerful. I understand the power that I have. I spoke to you guys and I grind and hustled every single day. I grind and hustled every single day till I got here. And now it's here. The vision I have is actually a reality. I asked you guys 2 years ago to give me funding to host the esports competition, and it didn't happen. And I just said, all right, I'm used to the government not helping me. And usually, government usually don't help people. But I know that you guys were going to help me if the ARPA funds were actually eligible to actually help. And so it's here. I grind hard every single day, and all of y'all know that. Everybody knows that knows D. Jones, that knows that D. Jones showed up every single day. I'm very excited to bring this here. And economic change, economic impact is going to happen, and it's going to be powerful. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Good morning.
Hey, good morning. My name is Greg Northrup. I live at 24 Fletcher Drive, Northeast Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm here on behalf of Family Futures and here to discuss the Ready by 5 millage proposal that you are considering as part of this meeting process. And as many of you know, I've been active at a public policy level for a number of years regionally here in West Michigan. It's a wonderful place that we have. It's a place that when I think about communities, I'm always tied to this old adage that either you're growing or you're dying. There is no status quo for communities. Either you make decisions to invest in the future or you make decisions to stay as you are. In our case, I know you've wrestled with the issue of the millage for the Ready by 5. And there's been a lot of good discussion as I've read the meeting notes over the course of the last 4 or 5 months. For me, the question of whether there's enough data or not doesn't make sense. At least in the case of Family Futures, we have a questionnaire process that we use with over 25,000 families that are participating in our program today. It's the same questionnaire that pediatricians use when they have new families that they're dealing with to find resources for people to help their young people be successful. At my age, I had a choice of how I wanted to spend my free time in support of those causes that make the most sense, and Family Futures and investment in our kids 0 through 5 is the most important thing that I could do as it relates to helping this community be successful. We need to build a base and a foundation for the future. The most critical time in a child's life is from 0 through 5, and that's why I joined the Family Futures Board and why I've been supporting their efforts for the last 5 years as part of my commitment to this community to help us grow. When you look at the investment that we're asking you to make, and we're asking our voters to make, to continue at 20.25, all that does is maintain the status quo, and in fact, the data would show that we don't show and can't support our current demand. We say we need another 6 years to wait for better data to help us understand what's going on in the future. If you wait 6 years, the kid's life's already past us in terms of the 0 to 5 process. If you need data, come see me at Family Futures. I'll help you understand what people are looking for. For a tenth of a mil more, we could make a difference. I think we ought to let the voters decide whether this is a good question or not for our community. I understand the work that you've done. I understand the issues that you're faced with from a political standpoint. This is a difficult time in the United States, but here in Grand Rapids in West Michigan, we ought to be able to make the right decision for our young people, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Erin Mohawk. I live in Grand Rapids Township, and I'm part of Together West Michigan. And I, too, am here regarding the early child care millage. First of all, I want to thank all of you for your service to our community and for your work that you have done on this. I've read that subcommittee work. And you know from that subcommittee work, child care is a wide problem for Kent County. The Michigan Chambers, both Grand Rapids and Michigan State, said child care issues result in an estimated $2.88 billion loss annually for the Michigan economy. 14% of those parents surveyed left a job in the past 6 months due to child care. One of those people is my neighbor, who is a lawyer, who's finally getting back to work after a year because her child got a slot. The report goes on to say that the most effective child care system will be the result of collective impact generated through collaboration, listening to the needs of parents and working to find public and private solutions. I love this community. I grew up here. I live here. I raised my sons. I believe that in order to be a healthy community, stay healthy, and grow as a community, we all need to work together and do our part. Community members, nonprofits, private business, and the government. That is collaboration. I know, too, that the county believes in collaboration and providing areas and spaces that promote community health and growth. We see this in proposals for new amphitheater, perhaps a soccer stadium. But if we are serious about economic growth, we need to support the families that go to all these venues and the families that work at these venues. Kent County is about leading the way, having an imagination where others don't. We saw that in the 2018 millage. It's time for us to lead the way again. That is why I'm requesting you to increase the millage from 0.25 to 0.45, allocating some funds to child care. It's not time just to renew, but to expand what is possible and let the voters decide. Thank you.
Lou Chamberlain. I also want to speak to the Ready by 5 millage. As I say, I'm Lou Chamberlain, chairman and founder of the West Michigan Whitecaps, but for today's purposes, more importantly, I am co-chair along with Kate Walters of First Steps Kent. I also am co-chair of the Early Childhood Working Group for Talent First, where early childhood investment has been a top priority for over 70 regional CEOs. I've been advocating for early childhood for over 20 years, maybe close to 30. And the thing that really got me involved in early childhood in the beginning was the realization that just what a remarkable return on investment that early childhood education can provide. It just made sense to me that a meaningful amount of public resources could be saved by investing in our children early while their brains are still developing, rather than spending larger amounts later on things like grade repetition, the criminal justice system, public health interventions. Not only that, but then there is the economic benefit of having these children become productive participants in our overall economy. It seems to me, and I've said this a million times, it seems to me that this is not only the right thing to do for our kids, but is the smart thing to do for our community and with our community resources. We very much appreciate the partnership that we've had with Kent County over the last 6 years, the Ready by 5 millage. Over the last 6 years, these programs have provided programs that children need to be healthy, on track, and ready to learn when they start kindergarten. The programs that get millage funding are evidence-based, with research showing long-term benefits to the child, to the family, to the community, everything from improved performance in school and higher graduation rates to reduce costs to the criminal justice and public health systems. This investment really does save us money. When we came to the county in 2018 requesting the first millage, we asked for 0.5 mils because we knew that was what we really needed to close the gaps in programming. Ultimately, that was cut in half with the understanding that if we proved that we could implement these programs and run them successfully, we would be able to discuss an increase in the rate in 2024. We need to expand on what we've built. We need to reach more children. We also need to address the growing child care crisis. I think a modest increase would allow us to build the infrastructure that we need to grow the early childhood workforce, to better connect families to available child care slots, and improve quality. The last thing I'll say is, I think it would be a really missed opportunity if we don't sustain and grow our current programming and address the child care crisis that we're facing now. It shouldn't be one at the cost of the other. It should be both. Thank you.
Just a reminder, please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Kristen Geetson, and I live at 3471 Thistledew in Rockford. I'm also the president of Arbor Circle, and Arbor Circle is a current Ready by 5 funding recipient. We see firsthand the impact that these programs have on our children and our families and our community. We provide proven, high-quality services that are provided by skilled and degreed professionals. And 2 programs in particular I wanted to highlight for you that Arbor Circle provides. The first is Infant Toddler Development Services. This is a service that is focused on families where there is an unexpected developmental concern or emotional challenge, and we provide clinical support for families that are dealing with very significant issues. These were services that were only available to those with Medicaid before Ready by 5, and now we're able to expand those services across the county. The second service is called KEEP, which stands for Keep Early Education Positive. And this is a program that is specifically focusing on preventing the loss of child care placements for families who have children with a particular behavioral health or developmental need that puts their placement at risk. Both of these programs, again, are provided by master's level clinicians who are degreed and certified to provide these clinical interventions. Both programs are based on research with local and national data that support the work. These programs not only provide clinical support, but also address some of our child care and workforce challenges by helping children to stay in their child care placements. Our early childhood system has come a long way with the support of Ready by 5, and we thank you for that. We still have a long way to go. We have waiting lists for services. We have demand for services that are going unmet, and we would be able to address those needs further if we had a modest increase in the Ready by 5 millage. So we're hoping that you will not only recommend a renewal, but also an increase in order to expand services further. Thank you again for your support, and we appreciate your work.
Good morning. My name is Whitney Sagansky, and I am from Gaines Township, and my district representative is Emily Bereave. I work with Explore and Grow in Kentwood, and excuse me, I'm here to advocate for early childhood. Please know that I'm also here representing 15 other people that wanted to come with me, but were unable to attend in person due to childcare issues. Early childhood education has been my passion since 2003 when I first started my college career at GRCC. I now hold an associate's degree from GRCC, a bachelor's degree from Aquinas College in early childhood education, as well as a master's in the art of teaching with a focus on learning disabilities, also from Aquinas. I have 14 years of classroom and administrative experience in the field of early childhood, in addition to teaching children from birth to 5. I also have held the position of curriculum specialist and teacher mentor, GSRP teacher, assistant director, program director, and I opened my own in-home childcare in 2020 on the day that Michigan shut down with COVID. Honestly, I never would have been able to provide the quality care that I did in my in-home had it not been for those subsidy grants. When those began to dwindle, it was clear that I had to shut down my in-home childcare and look for another alternative. I went back into the field and found a new position with a brand new center, and we were providing free child care to qualifying families. Unfortunately, due to lack of funding and being unable to find people to work with low wages, that center was forced to close. It was heartbreaking to say goodbye to the parents on the last day who were asking, what will we do? Where can we go? How will we work? We tried to connect families with as many possible new centers, but we're mostly just able to put them on wait lists. I still pray for them. After that center was closed, I was lucky enough to find another position at a center I used to work with, but I had to take a $6 pay decrease, bringing me down to a salary I had not made since 2017. I loved this job and wanted to stay there. I even looked into being a ship shopper. What else could I do? But then lost all time with my family. Therefore, I had to make a hard choice and leave the place that I loved. I did ask for an increase, but they said as well, unfortunately, they had such a tight budget that they were unable to give me any sort of increase without any more government subsidies coming in. There's a dangerous pattern of need for childcare, huge wait lists, while within centers, administrators are increasing class sizes and decreasing the amount of teachers to those children. The pandemic may have ended, but the need and support for early childhood in this world has not. Our children need and deserve the same support given during the pandemic today and going forward. That is, if we want to invest in our society and the future of our county, our state, our country. I'm not sure if you're aware, but currently centers are charging $340 a week. That means that's $1,360 a month, and I'm making $1,600 a month before taxes. So as an early childhood educator, I can't afford to send my children to an early childhood center. And please know that we will be watching as you decide whether you'll let us support this or not. We urge you to put at least 0.45 mils on the ballot and let us as voters decide if we want to increase our funding for child care or not. We don't have many choices in this field, so please give us this opportunity to choose this time around.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Yes, hi. My name is Tara Kenzer. I live at 4375 56th Street, Southwest Wyoming, Granville area. And I'm here to talk about the Ready by 5 millage and the resources that have helped me and my son and my family. So my son will be 2 on Friday. Can't believe I've been a mom for almost 2 years. And the Ready by 5 millage has funded many different programs. And the first one I ever used was the Play and Learn groups. I watched my son get to interact with kids his age, with kids older, kids younger. He got to try new toys, learn a lot of stuff, sharing, waiting your turn, and watching other kids interact with each other, other toys, and other parents. I got to meet other parents in the community, and the staff that runs the play and learn groups was also beneficial to myself. So over the course of the last 18 months that I've been bringing him, I've noticed some of the kids that are his same age, he is not, I guess, developing this quite the same. So it brings to my concern, like, are these kids just advanced or is my kid behind? So I asked, of course, the staff, I said, where should I go? What should I do? And they recommended me to use Family Futures and do an ASQ, which is an ages and stages questionnaire, if for those who don't know, just to see if he really is off track, if I should seek other help or not. So he does have a little bit of a speech delay. So after I filled out this questionnaire, a navigator from Family Futures contacted me via email and phone, just to make sure I got the email, and then steered me to Early On to get my son extra help for his speech. And I think back to the beginning, I was just taking him to interact with other kids, meet other people in the community, and now it's turned into a full-blown help for my family. Like, I can't imagine if I waited till he started kindergarten. Like, if I didn't have those services, like, what if he was 5 years behind everyone else? You know, he's going to get an extra 3 years of maybe one-on-one speech, a group speech, and other help that I may have missed as a parent because I wouldn't have known. In these play and learn groups, you see them as just kids getting together, but it's building a community, help, and a sense of partnership with Grand Rapids. And not only do I recommend them to my friends, I recommend the parents to do ASQs on their children because you never know. You know, I have a master's degree in exercise physiology. Do I have any idea if my kid's on track? No. I have to use other resources, other people, and other education tools that they offer by the Ready by 5 millage that I wouldn't have known. I know how to, so I appreciate you listening, and I hope you think about the kids' future like families like mine. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Tania Ingram. I live at 542 Grigg Street, Southeast, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm a parent to a 1-year-old daughter, and I'm the co-chair of the Ready by 5 steering committee. And I first got involved with being on the Residential Proposal Review Board, which decides which programs will be funded through the Ready by 5 program. As a former Resident Proposal Review Board member, I've seen firsthand how much scrutiny each and every program goes through in order to get funded. We make sure that the organizations have proven outcomes and that the organizations are also held accountable for what they say they are going to do. During this process, parents have the most important voice on the review board. The programs that get funded have to work for families and support to empower families. My family has used a number of services. We regularly, quarterly fill out ASQs, as Tara was mentioning, just to ensure that our daughter is developmentally on track. We also attend the play and learn groups, which focus on other things that children need to learn and experience as toddlers so they can be ready to succeed in kindergarten. In addition to that, Healthy Homes Coalition came to our house and gave us the tools we need to reduce lead exposure. So my daughter tested low for lead. She was at a 3.3 lead level, but 3.5 is high. And we all know the ramifications of lead. It leads to reduced IQ scores and other developmental delays. So we wanted to take action to reduce those exposures. One of the most important things we have in the community because of Ready by 5 is an outreach and navigation network. Families who historically haven't participated in services get a personal connection from a navigator who helps them find programs that best meet their child's needs. I have always been a big believer in investing in our community and giving back, and now I'm a mother, and I understand that there's no better investment than our children. And I truly feel blessed to live in a community that is supporting children early. I hope we can continue to increase the investment so that more kids and parents can benefit in the way that my family is currently benefiting. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Mays from Comstock Park with Together West Michigan. I have a master's degree in education. I have taught at high school and the collegiate level. I currently am an assistant youth director with the YMCA of Greater Grand Rapids and oversee school-age programs in the community. Over the last 9 years, I have worked with every CDC classroom we have. First and foremost, I am a mother who has paid for childcare for the last 8 years. With this experience and knowledge, I can testify to the following points. Early childhood is not babysitting. To work in a state licensed childcare, you have to have, at a minimum, a CDA to be a lead teacher in those classrooms. Staff are also required to have continued yearly trainings. Centers have requirements of the quality of their equipment. All of these points cost money. Since we are talking about the Ready by 5 millage, I look to see if a single mother had a child now, would she be able to afford it? Now let's say that our single mother makes $20 an hour, which is higher than the average hourly rate job in Grand Rapids, which is a little over $18 an hour. Thus, our single mother makes about $3,200 a month. Now let's look at our other expenses without a child. Say our single mother is renting a 980 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment in York Creek Apartments, which is District 2, which is my district, for $1,438 a month. Average utilities is $202 a month. The average grocery cost for one person in Michigan is $327. So just to live in District 2, cook at home for every meals, it will cost a single woman about $1,967 a month. So let's pretend that she gets her baby into the care at the YMCA, and let's see if she can afford it. Child care for an infant is $340 a week, so $1,360 a month. So now for a single woman and her infant, the minimum monthly cost is $3327, yet she only makes $3,200 a month. This single mother applies for DHS, but she doesn't qualify because she makes too much. She also makes too much for YMCA financial aid based on the federal income eligibility guidelines for free and reduced lunches. So our single mother doesn't make enough to be able to pay for childcare, but she makes too much to get assistance. How does that make sense? The well-being of our children is all of our problems, not just a parent problem. Now, increasing this millage will not fix the problem, but it will help. We all know the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. So why not give the village the opportunity to decide to make this increase in our taxes? Let us decide if we want to help our children. Renew what we have and add the requested amount to the 0.45 mils. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak this morning? Please join us at the podium.
Good morning. My name is Banzam Kalai. I'm from Grand Rapids, Granville, and I'm a pastor at Restoration Community Church, founding pastor of that church. So I am here representing New Americans, and I am among those New Americans. So my concern is about the millage. I came here in 2012 as a refugee, and we try to struggle about how we can raise our kid in this country, and we try our best to look for work, and it didn't work for us when we came before because I'm here since 2012, and we struggle so much to find a job. So I really appreciate, and I want to say thank you so much today for you to give support to Bethany Social Services, and they start to train people from our community to work as child care providers. So that program helps so much our newcomers to work and work so hard. I want to just emphasize this. The New Americans contribute so much to the economy of this Kent County. We own houses and we own small business, and we do our best to work so hard. So now we are facing the problem because when the program started, daycare provider, we see the change, a big change in our community. People were working so much. We got a lot of people have a job, but right now, because of this problem we have now, we are losing now most of child care in our community. So the problem now, it's a lot of parents, they don't work, they are home, So this is a big issue in our community. So that's why I'm here to represent those newcomers, because they cannot afford to pay childcare for themselves, because they're struggling to adjust their life here in Kent County. So, and paying themselves child care, it's hard. Myself, I have started business with my wife. We have a child care. So we work so much to help our community, because there are some of them, they work more than the hours they give them to work. They give them mandatory to work maybe more than the hours they're supposed to work. So because we need to help those parents to work, so we work more than the hours we're supposed to work, because we want to take care of the children. And so we provide transportation for those for our clients. We drop them off, the kid, and we pick them up. So we do more. So I think what I will say is if you can help us to increase the mileage, that will help our community. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Emily Jacobson. I'm here with Together West Michigan. I live in the Northview School District and work in the Breton-Burton area. I am also the co-director and lead toddler guide of Everbloom Montessori. I'm here today to share with you all my sadness, frustration, and plea to offer support in regards to early childhood education and the need for the increase to the Ready by 5 millage. I've been a teacher in the early childhood profession for 27 years. My degree is in child development, and my Montessori credential is for infancy through 3 years of age. During my education and throughout the years working in this profession, I've been told over and over about the importance of the first 5 years and how it is the most important time in a child's life, especially for brain development. Did you know that children's brains develop connections faster in the first 5 years than at any other time in their lives? This is the time when the foundations for learning, health, and behavior throughout life are created. With all of this knowledge and the research to support how important this time is in a child's life, we are still at a place where sadly many children under the age of 5 are not receiving quality care. And this isn't because families aren't in need or trying to have these experiences for their children. You see, I am of many of these directors in the childcare industry who has to tell families that we have a large waiting list and cannot confirm when their child will have a spot, knowing that most childcares have a 2 to 3 year wait. I am the one who hears from families that they cannot afford the tuition, even at a discounted rate. It is typically more than what they pay for rent or a mortgage monthly. I am the one who hears the stories from desperate families who want to have their children enrolled but have been denied DHHS benefits funding after submitting lengthy applications, documentation, and desperation for financial assistance. I am also the one who desperately wants to pay our staff a livable wage where they don't have to supplement their income with side jobs in addition to their full-time job. I am the one who wants to let our staff know that they are valued and that their job is one of the most important there is, even though I cannot compensate them in a way that expresses that. Our childcare system is broken. Our families are in need of quality childcare. Our children are suffering. Our professionals in the field are struggling and burnt out. We all need your support. Something has got to be done, and you are in the position to help with that. Polling on expanding the Ready by 5 millage was over 75% support at the end of last year. Given how enormous and urgent the need is, commissioners need to let the voters have the opportunity to make this decision to increase the funding or not. Thank you.
I'm Wendy Wenner. I live on 1110 Oakley Northwest. And I'm here to talk from Together West Michigan about some things that we think could be added to the village if we could expand it. The one thing we haven't said today is that according to your report, we have 20,500 families in Kent County that cannot get the child care they need. This is hurting our economy. This is definitely hurting our children. And one of my positions before I started at Grand Valley was to remediate children in high school who are reading at the level of first grade or third grade. They learn to fake it, they learn to get away with it, but they can't do the work they're doing, and that's because they didn't have the Head Start. So we know that if we don't give the Head Start, the children that don't get it are going to be failing when they go forward. And we don't want that to happen in our community. We don't want them to drop out of high school. We don't want them to do the things that they will do if they can't do the work that they're doing. So we need to do something about the 20,500 families that can't get it. And the one thing we can do, the only thing it seems to me that we can do right now is try to increase the millage. Together, West Michigan would like to increase the millage to 4.5, and we would like to have these things added to what the millage does. We'd like an added investment in early childhood education talent pipeline to build the workforce. We desperately need more workforce. We would like to provide more help to families and childcare providers in navigating the difficult financial system so that we can use more of the state's money, which we're leaving on the table. We need to use that money to help these people. And we also want working with all types of providers to improve their quality of care. We have good care and we have bad care. My grandson happened to be in bad care. And by the third grade, he was not reading at the level that he should be. So he's been helped, but that was a close call for our family. So, and we also would like to see investing in innovative initiatives that will bring an increase in the opportunities for children for childcare, because this millage is called childcare, but it is not dealing with the big, difficult problem that we have, all of us have, for improving childcare opportunities. So I really hope that you will increase the millage and give us the opportunity to vote.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good morning. I'm Andy Reiskamp. I live at 1804 Eastbrook, Southeast. I'd like to give my perspective as a grandparent. In 2015, I retired from a career in international relief and development, so I had 60 countries under my belt and didn't need to do the retirement thing that a lot of folks my age do. And we dedicated, my wife and I, 2 days a week to childcare for our two grandkids here in Grand Rapids. The oldest one was born in 2015 when I retired. We have done 2 days of childcare since then, and we figured that if our son paid us $10 an hour for the two of us, we saved him about $60,000, which helps me to understand the impact that childcare has, and the fact that the chamber has estimated that $2.8 billion is lost annually because of the lack of childcare. I'm really proud of the fact that in Kent County we have the Ready by 5 millage, and we've heard a lot of the stories about the impact that it has. But I think we can do a lot more, and I think I'm here just to advocate for increasing the millage to, in fact, double it if you can. We hear a lot about TRISHARE, and from all that we can gather in the research that we've done in Together West Michigan, the impact of that is minimal. Was in October and November last year, Together West Michigan generated 1,400 cards, I'm a child care voter cards from the people in our institutions. This year we hope to do 7,500 voter registration cards that support the issues that Together West Michigan is working on, including especially the child care issue. For me, having seen the impact of not investing in child care is very significant, and I just encourage you to be courageous and increase the millage and let the voters decide. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak this morning?
Good morning. My name is Tina Feemeyer. I live at 1352 Park. Great to see all of you today, not talking about the zoo. I'm here today to speak in favor of raising the millage number for early childhood funding rather than doing the bare minimum of pushing through a 0.25% millage rate. In the Kent County Administrator's Digest that came out yesterday, the report from First Steps Kent was shared highlighting the need for more early childhood services to meet the growing demand of the county. In Kent County, there are 42,000 children under the age of 5, and more than 25% of them are facing economic disadvantages. Seems to me that you have the power today to let those 42,000 children who don't have a voice of their own benefit from this program. If you can firmly say that the same millage rate that was in 2018 is going to cover the same amount of services for the next 6 years, I think we all might be a bit mistaken. We all know that the raising costs are not the same as they were in 2018 and certainly won't be the same in 8 years. I do understand that despite the millage dollars increasing with home values rising, it's still not the same amount of funding. This report highlighted by the Ready by 5 program provides funding for impactful areas such as outreach and navigation, developmental screenings, which you've heard about, at-home visits, toddler development. It restored the KEEP program. There's play and learn groups, and they had a goal of serving 10,000 children, to my understanding, and still fell a little bit short. Monitoring environmental health issues, which, as I've heard over the months leading up to this, is important to you with lead-based programs. And then sending Kent County sanitarians to investigate those issues such as mold, unsafe building conditions, et cetera. And the millage money was able to double the number of sanitarians on staff. These are all really important things that the millage money goes towards. It's not just childcare. Additionally, translation, interpretation services, the Reach to Read program in collaboration with local pediatricians, amazingly was able to get 24,000 books distributed to over 14,000 children and families. The services are many. To my understanding, while childcare is not funded through the Ready by 5 program, it's an obvious important reminder that the estimated cost of childcare in Kent County is a minimum of $10,000 annually. Why would Kent County commissioners not want to think outside the box to add more funding to potentially expand a program rather than deplete its services when we know there are gaps that exist already? I believe it's important to not only put this measure on the ballot this fall, but to increase the millage to the recommended 0.45 that the Ready by 5 Millage Steering Committee originally presented to the Commission, rather than the 0.25 that you have on your agenda. Anything less than that, and you'd be choosing to take away vital services from the county residents that need it the most. The difference from a 0.25 mil to a 0.45 mil in the first year would be a whopping $6 million difference in funding available, and it would only be a difference of a $50 tax bill versus a $25 tax bill to most residents. That seems like an obvious major win for kids if we push for the 0.45. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this morning? All right, seeing none, thank you for all your time and speaking to us this morning about the millage issues and other items on your mind. Our next item is the consent agenda, and I just want to make a note before we go through that. Item number 7 on our agenda is from Fiscal Services Purchasing, and typically those items go under the consent agenda. So I'm just going to move that up. If there's any questions at the time, we can discuss and remove it from the consent agenda. But is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the approval of minutes, the auditing of checks, and including that Fiscal Services item number 7?
So moved.
Moved. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments on the consent agenda? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. That brings us to our next item from the Administrator's Office. It's property development rights, grants, and contributions for the Bradford Anderson property.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $182,500 to the 2024 Agricultural Preservation Budget in the Special Projects Fund from the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Services Agricultural Conservation Easement Program grant of $127,750 and a landowner donation $54,750 for the purchase of development rights, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreements, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriations not to exceed 15% of the original awards. Summary. NRCS notified the county that it will award up to $127,750 for the Bradford Anderson property. The landowner notified the county of a donation up to $54,750. A state grant application was submitted in 2021 and $220,000 was appropriated under Resolution 09222299 for the Momber property. The Momber property is no longer being sought due to a voluntary withdrawal from the program, but the state funding can be utilized for the Bradford Anderson property. As the appraisal for the new property was less than the original, the funds were reduced by $37,500 to a new grant allotment of $182,500. The term of the federal grant award is March 1, 2023 through March 31, 2026. The term of the state grant award is March 1, 2022 through September 30, 2024. The Bradford Anderson application is the next highest scoring application. Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents as to form.
All right, thanks, Sal. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Oliver King. Is there support? Support by Commissioner McLeod. Questions or comments regarding this item? None? All right. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. All right, motion passes. Next item comes from the Administrator's Office, and it's also regarding property development rights, grants, and contributions for the Betts and Kingsbury property.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $288,000 to the 2024 Agricultural Preservation Budget in the Special Projects Fund from a USDA Natural Resources Conservation Services, NRCS, Agricultural Conservation Easement Program grant of $44,770. A Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, or MDARD, grant of $217,500, a landowner donation of $20,730, and a contribution from the Grand Rapids Community Foundation Agricultural Preservation Fund of $5,000, designated for the purchase of development rights, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreements, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriations not to exceed 15% of the original awards. Summary. The Betts and Kingsbury Development Rights Appraisal of $5,723.68 per acre was 43% higher than the original estimate. NRCS notified the county that it will receive an additional ACEP grant for the difference in valuations in the amount of $44,770, bringing the award amount to $152,250, and the landowners committed to increasing their contribution by $20,730 to $60,250, exceeding the appropriation authority previously authorized in Resolution 12-15-22-138. MDARD notified the county that it will receive a grant for the purchase of development rights in an amount up to $217,500, none of which has been previously appropriated. The Agricultural Preservation Board has funds in the Grand Rapids Community Foundation to cover closing costs. The term of the federal grant is March 1, 2022 through March 31, 2025. The term of the state grant is March 1, 2023 through September 30, 2025. Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents as to form.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Oliver King. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Wooden. Questions or comments regarding this? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank the landowners for their donations, and also just want to point out that no Kent County tax dollars are being used for this program. And I think it's important to note that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. No. All right, motion passes. That brings us to our next item, item number 5 from the Administrator's Office, and it's the request for the early childhood millage.
Action requested. Review, recommend, and forward to the Legislative and Human Resources Committee proposed language to be placed on the August 6, 2024 primary election ballot for the purpose of a millage at a rate of 0.25 of 1 mil for early childhood development services to persons through age 5 and their parents. Summary. Voters approved the first dedicated millage for early childhood development services, also known as Ready by 5, as 0.25 mils in 2018 with an expiration on December 31 of 2024. A request was submitted by the Ready by 5 Millage Steering Committee for a 6-year dedicated 0.50 mil levy from 2025 through 2031 to generate revenues to continue providing early childhood development services with an added focus on addressing the need to connect families with quality child care services. The Ready by 5 Subcommittee, which included Chair Breivy, Commissioner Sparks, and Teal, reviewed the proposition and recommended asking voters for an additional 6-year millage at a rate of 0.25 of 1 mil, consistent with the November 2018 ballot, on the August 6, 2024 ballot. The recommended ballot language adds to the current millage-funded activities to improve quality of and information about available child care options. The subcommittee also recommended a structured community convening on Ready by 5 evaluation results and outcomes to identify service gaps and successes. LHR will review the subcommittee's report and consider forwarding a recommendation to the board authorizing the proposed millage be placed on the August 6, 2024 ballot. Corporate Council will review and approve the early childhood millage ballot language as to form.
All right, before moving forward, I just want to make a correction in that summary of request. The second bullet point mentions a 6-year dedicated 0.5 mil levy, and the request was actually a 0.45 mil levy. So just want to make that update here in the description in the action request. So it was originally a 0.45, and the committee recommended a renewal of 0.25.
We'll correct that for the board
Okay,
meeting.
perfect. All right, so with that said, is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner Hildenbrand, is there support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Green. Questions or comments regarding this particular item? Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. So, while I'll certainly be voting for this measure, because ultimately not renewing this millage is dangerous in itself, given the stark needs that exist. I can't say I'm not disappointed that we are not following the request or granting the request made by First Steps Kent. I think the folks who came here today illustrated the profound needs we have for childcare in this community. I, for one, certainly know that. I don't have the same stark needs as others, but we were this close to having a 2.5-year-old sitting in this chair right today. So, which would have made this maybe a little more entertaining, but ultimately, beyond the stories we're hearing today, we've heard at this dais and on that podium how the lack of available and affordable childcare is costing this economy $2.88 billion a year in lost economic activity. Folks on this dais know I don't agree with the Michigan Chamber on a lot, but I do agree with them on that. And I think when we're looking at a millage proposal and whether or not to let the voters decide, our job is just to decide whether or not the entity that is making the request is prepared to meet that request. We're not the ones choosing whether or not the tax gets levied or not. It's the voters who choose that. Our job is to decide whether or not it is something that, if the tax is levied, there is a plan in place to ensure the taxpayer dollars are used effectively. And so certainly it is my preference that we let the voters choose whether or not to expand this millage. And I worry that keeping it at its current level but expanding the use is just going to spread resources thinner and setting things up for future hurdles. And so while I'll be voting for this today, I would urge those at this dais to not wait another 6 years after, should it pass, to reconsider this, because I think we're going to start seeing the ramifications of this decision, should it pass in this way, a lot sooner than that. But ultimately, I do think passing this renewal, no matter how much I would prefer to see it increased, is, the alternative is far worse. So I'll be voting for it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Chair. I had a whole bunch of notes here, but I think I only have 3 minutes. I don't know really where to start. I think I'll start with the young lady who actually broke down with tears of frustration and sadness, as she called it. My oldest child is 20 years old. So when I needed childcare, things were different. And we're talking about childcare, but I also heard about developmental delays for children, which we know the ramifications of that. Lead poisoning, speech delays. We talked about navigation to different services that they may not have other supports. We heard from a grandparent, so not just a parent, we heard from a grandparent. I don't know anyone that's sitting up here right now who did not need childcare. Every last person in this building, no matter who you are, needed childcare at some point in time in your life. So to think about where we're at now with the lack of workers, people that want to work, it's not that they're lazy because they can't. They just cannot have the things that they need. They don't have childcare. There's not enough people to work, so people are stressed out. So I think about the mental health and the things that we will start seeing because we are not choosing to let the voters. This is what's frustrating to me. This is a democracy. And for us to quail that and say, this is the best we can give you as commissioners. We're only going to give you this. When they elected us to give them the opportunity to have the services, and we say it right in our mission. We say we are going to give them a quality of life, but yet we sit here and say, this is all we're going to do for you. Not even based on the stats that we see, not even based on the work that we know has been put into this early by 5 childhood millage. 20,000 families, 20,500 families. And then we have the nerve as a county to put out a report saying all of these things that we need, but we don't bring it to the voters? That's not right. It's not fair, and it totally goes against our democratic rights and responsibilities. I will be voting for this because that may be the best that I can do for the voters, because we're not giving them an option. So I'm very frustrated today because democracy is not working in Kent County. And it's all of our responsibility. I don't care what side you're on. The voters are speaking to us, and we're basically saying, to hell with you. Forgive my language, Daddy. My dad's a preacher, so. But I'm very frustrated. There's more to say. But that's all I'll say for now. I thank every one of you for coming out today. I appreciate you. And this is how democracy is supposed to work. You come, you tell us what your needs are, and we are to address those needs. And I'm sorry that it appears that we're letting you down. But I do know one thing my mom's always said. The opera's not over till the fat lady sings. We're going to be singing. I feel it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there, yes, Commissioner Kallman.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate everybody that came and spoke so passionately, and I recognize that the goals of seeing kids in Kent County succeed we all share those goals. And there are severe economic challenges in our community, and child care is one that hits a lot of families closely. When it comes to the early childhood education component of all of this, I do think of my cousin and his wife a week or two ago just had a baby. They live in Helsinki, and interesting that in their education system, they don't start any formal education until kids are about 7 years old. And they actually have some of the best educational outcomes in the entire world in Finland, and significantly better outcomes than we have here in Michigan. So I do think there's a very interesting kind of debate and discussion around how to achieve, the goals of making sure, all kids get a good start and succeed at education in the long run. But that's really not, the debate we have here. The debate we have here is, whether or not to approve the recommendation from the subcommittee on this, which I just want to express my appreciation to Chair Breivy, Commissioner Sparks, Commissioner Teal for all the work on that. The report was excellent. Having not been in the room in all of those meetings, it was very helpful to get kind of all the details, like what the various people spoke to, all of that. So I just want to express my appreciation for that. And it is then a question of trade-offs, and I think they're hard, hard trade-offs. I do want to make sure to point out, I think when the minority vice chair spoke and some of the public comment seemed to me to suggest that we should let the voters decide between the current funding or the increase in funding, but that actually is not an option. So the only option is up or down with the voters. If the tax rate is increased, I think the risk to that passing increases, and the other option is not status quo funding. The other option is zero funding. And so I just wanted to make that clear that it's not a choice. The voters can't have a choice of increase or status quo. It's kind of an all or nothing decision. And I think in this particular case, the recommendation, so I just looked at the numbers, so the 0.25 millage rate, so this coming year, the first year of this next 6-year term, compared to the first year of the first 6-year term, it's a little over a $2.1 million increase in taxes. So I appreciate that, a good, and that's about, if my math was right, it's about 38% increase in taxes. So the 0.25 millage rate is a more than $2 million increase in taxes. I appreciate that a lot of that in our current economic situation gets eaten up by like inflationary pressures, and yet most people in our community are seeing their property tax bill go up by 5%, but their wages go up by 3% at best, oftentimes 0%. And they're walking into the grocery store and paying significantly more there. Where are people going to come up with the extra money, this extra $2 million? I think that's enough. I think it'd be a mistake to try to ask voters for more than a $2 million increase from the last time this started, and I think that would jeopardize the funding altogether. So I'll be voting for this because I think it is a good good consideration of all of those trade-offs.
All right, Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank all of the people that showed up today to voice their thoughts and considerations for what we are considering today in terms of the early childhood millage. I just had a couple thoughts. So I was really moved by some of the comments from those in the that gave public comment, and very specifically in terms of you know, the impact of people being able to be active members of society, working, doing the things that they, you know, went to school for to do, the people that, you know, we need to work in the childcare system to help those that would like to work to be able to work. And, you know, low wages, all of the things that have been brought to the table today. I mean, that really hit home for me. I mean, I'm a mother of 4 young men now, but I did have to pay childcare some years ago, and it's nothing like it is this today. Seeing my own children frustrated by the lack of affordable childcare for their children so that they can work and do the things that they need to do is very frustrating. And, you know, if I was a grandmother that was still able to be at home and retired, I would probably be the childcare provider, right? But since I'm still in the working public, I'm unable to do that, and it's very sad that people that want to work, want to do the things that they aspire to do cannot because they do not have affordable childcare. And so the fact that we have the opportunity to expand the language in this millage to include childcare as one of the services that is supported by this millage, and we're choosing not to go by the recommendation of the committee is really, I know we're going with the recommendation of the subcommittee. I'm talking about the recommendation from the actual millage committee is a little frustrating. They asked for 0.45 and we're moving forward with 0.25. I'd like a little bit more information on that, I guess, because I know that we probably have a timing issue for getting things on the ballot. So that's something we have to consider, but I would like for us to really think about what the people are asking for versus what we're moving forward. I know that in reading all of the reports, it was very clear that there have been some really good things done with this funding. We heard about a lot of that today, but there's much more that could be done to address what we know is an issue right here in our county in terms of people not being able to work, not being able to be active members of society because they can't find childcare. Even if we, you know, increased it to 0.35, that would allow some additional services to take place over these next 6-year period. And we're not doing that. And I don't like the option of no millage versus this low millage. But, you know, I understand that we have to move something forward, but man, what horrible options that we have right now to say either we move forward with this low millage rate, you know, the original millage rate, or we could potentially end up with nothing. That is very unfair on all levels. And I agree with Commissioner Sparks that this is a bad choice that we have to make, but I'm not willing to sacrifice the entire millage being able to be funded to move forward with a higher rate, but understanding that this is a real problem that we need to find a way. As a county, we're one of the only counties, if I read the report right, that have done something like this, to put a millage on a ballot that provides these type of services for our residents. And if our residents are saying we need to do something different to expand it and make it so that it's addressing all of the early childhood issues that people are facing, and childcare is a huge one right now, I feel like we need to do something different. So I would just ask that if this has to go to LHR next, I understand that, but if before it comes to the full board, I think that there should be an opportunity for us to really have that discussion about whether or not we can make some changes to be able to move something forward that the people have asked us to move forward. This is a hard position to be in, but I know that, you know, we have the one job that we need to do to make sure the language gets on the ballot so that the public can consider it. But I do think that we could do something a little bit differently to make this a little bit more palatable and something that is actually what the people are asking for. The survey data that Family Futures provided was very much, the people said, hey, let's put it on the ballot and let's talk about it. Let's vote for it. And so, you know, I want to stress that it's either something that you don't want or nothing, and those are very bad options. So I'll be voting for it to go to the next step, but I'm not voting for it because I appreciate the 0.25 versus the 0.45. I'm voting for it because I'm not willing to see it not be funded at all. So I just want to hopefully be able to have some additional conversations about what this language is and what is actually moving forward. And I hope that there's an opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hildenbrand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question. Do we need to formally change the resolution because it's before us as a formal document to reflect the change from the 0.5, that the original request was 0.5 to 0.45? Maybe Corporate Counsel.
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely correct. And so the method to do that is that the commissioner who is going to be presenting that is going to request that that language be changed to 0.45.
Yeah, so, well, I'll be happy to make it. I just want to make sure that that's the correct approach. Okay, so,
Commissioner Hildenbrand made the motion and you supported
well,
it.
okay.
Okay.
I'll make the motion now. I move to adjust the language in the second whereas to reflect that the original request by the Ready by 5 steering committee was 0.45. That was a request, not 0.50.
All right, is there
Thank you.
support? Was that Commissioner Merchant that supported it? All right, Commissioner Merchant supported it. Questions or comments regarding this adjustment on the resolution? So what we're doing in the second paragraph, the second line of the second paragraph, it says dedicated 0.5 mil levy. We're adjusting that to reflect the original request, which says dedicated, which was dedicated 0.45 mil levy. All right, so any other questions or comments regarding that? All right, all in favor of making that adjustment, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. All right, motion passes. So back to the original conversation here, I believe Commissioner Green, unless did you have anything to add to your, okay. Commissioner Green, you were up next.
Thank you, Chair. There is some strange rhetoric in the room today because it seems like we're having a funeral for Ready by 5 here, when what we're talking about doing is recommending that the voters, we take it to the voters for them to renew the millage at the rate that it's been at. It boggles my mind a little bit that we're not acknowledging that we seem to think that this is a good program, that it's a good millage, and that we want to see it continue on. Commissioner Kallman touched on the revenue that the millage has generated in real dollars. The first year in fiscal 19, $5.5 million. Projected for fiscal year 2024, $7.2 million. So almost a $2 million increase in terms of real dollars over that time, 25% more revenue, and yet you would think we were cutting it. And I don't understand. I'm hearing things like there's a threat to democracy today. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. That we're doing the bare minimum. I think it was mentioned that there's only one other state in the state of, or county rather, in the state of Michigan that does anything remotely like this. I believe it's Grand Traverse County, and I don't think it's actually what we do here. So it's just, we have problems to solve in childcare that are not going to be solved by this county, that are not going to be solved by us increasing taxes or asking the residents to increase taxes. And I do think we have a fundamental disagreement, some of us on this dais, about what the role of the commission is when it comes to millages. That if we don't simply take an increase to the residents, that we're denying them the opportunity. There was so much work done by the subcommittee of the board that looked at this, that hours spent on reviewing it and finding out what is working, what isn't working. No one here is saying we don't like Ready by 5. I mean, that's what's boggling to me. And I very much support the work that's being done. I very much support us moving forward with the recommendation for a renewal. And let's give this some more time to grow. Let's hopefully, knock on wood, not have to deal with the pandemic 2 years into this thing starting, have a chance to fully get all of the data that we need. Maybe it's the full 6, maybe it's not. I think it would be worth coming back and having a conversation about whether we should look at it again after less than 6 years. But this is doing good things for people in our community. Again, I feel like I'm at a funeral, and I feel like it's not, it should be, I don't know if a celebration is the right word, because, I understand people are very frustrated with the direction that things are going, but I think we should be eager to move forward and continue to support the work of First Steps Kent with the millage. So I will be voting yes, obviously. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Green. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Antor.
Thank you. I feel like it's a funeral for different reasons than maybe some of you other folks. We've got a date coming up on February 14th here, just in a few days, where the ultimate in child protection, which was Public Health Code Act 368, is being abolished and it's being repealed, which is going to allow for viable babies to be partially birthed and aborted for any reason under the sun. No physician's examination required anymore under that act. And if we're going to be truthful and say this is a 0 to 5 venture, what about the 0? How can we allow that in our society? Makes me sick to my stomach. Yes, I support what this group is doing. I'm as pro-life as they come. I've got 6 grandkids and I got 3 daughters, and I love anything we can do before and after the birth of a child. But on one hand, I can't stand the hypocrisy of saying we're going to do all this for our children, 0 to 5, on one hand, and yet there's going to be a lot of people in this room celebrating the fact that we can snuff out babies, we can murder them on February 14th. Why? You tell me. If that's not the ultimate hypocrisy, I guess I haven't seen it. So I hope everybody is aware of that fact and maybe can watch that as it goes down. There's no exceptions either. These are babies with their own personal DNA that if they're allowed one more day, they would be United States citizens with fingerprints, social security numbers, but we're letting one day stop that. And it makes me sick. I love everything that 0 to 5 is doing, but I think it takes our eye off some really important legislation and some things that have slowly come into our purview over time that we're now celebrating. I don't understand it at all. So I'd like to see us do some more work on this. And maybe look into some other things. We now have 12-week paid leave for moms and dads after they have a baby. 12 weeks. That's pretty significant. That's a huge cost to employers, but that's never brought up in this discussion. Probably conveniently not brought up because we have done some things and we continue to do things, including this millage that puts all you folks in here. Very proactive, but in my mind, I still can't wrap my arm around the fact we're ignoring the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. And, I do feel like I need to clarify. I don't feel like folks on this dais are speaking about a funeral. I think they're giving a word of caution that if we have a current millage set at a current rate with a certain set of services, and then we decide we're going to expand that services, but we're also not going to raise the rate or allow the voters to decide on a higher rate, then we are forcing folks to do more with less or with the same amount of money available. And that is, to me, my biggest concern about this, is if we come in 2-4 years from now There may be questions at that point. Why have we not succeeded on all of these measures? Well, it's because you raised the bar, but you didn't give us the right pole to vault over it. And again, I want to renew the millage to ensure that what we have currently is kept, but I do think that's an important word of caution to share at this dais. And if that sounds like a funeral, I apologize, but I do want to make it clear it's a word of caution. And with that, I will yield the floor and again reiterate, I will be voting for this action request today.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Are there any others who have not spoken a first time? All right, Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to, as I heard at least, I think 3 commissioners speak to their wish that it was the originally requested 0.45 as opposed to the current millage rate of 0.25. I previously kind of gave my argument where, the extra $2 million, and the higher chance that it passes at the current millage rate seems to me a logical position. But just so the public knows what the process is, so it only takes 2 commissioners sitting up here to make a proposal to make this 0.45. We can do that right now if those commissioners want to, and we can debate that and vote on it. So there's nothing hindering the democratic process here. It only takes 2 commissioners sitting up here to make that recommendation, and we'll then have that debate. And so I would not vote in favor of that, but I just wanted to make sure the public is aware that that's all it takes to try to make that happen.
All right, Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While and I thank you, Commissioner Coleman, we definitely can do that. We can ask for more, but we're not going to get it because we already know who's in the room. We already know what the votes are, so let's be transparent. That's how it works. We already know what's going to happen. To your point, Commissioner Green, I am very thankful that we have Ready by 5. I'm very thankful that we're going to be able to go forward with, this process. It's necessary and it's needed. What I'm not grateful for is I'm not grateful for minds that are closed because it's an election year, because they don't want to be seen as voting for something that is going to raise taxes. Now, that's transparency. And that's what angers me, because children are worth more than that. These parents are worth more than that. And we want to sit here and pretend like that's not the bottom line, and it is the bottom line. And it's not fair, and it's not right. That's transparency. That's democracy. We were told to put together a subcommittee, and we had individuals come before us that told us this can pass. Parents are wanting this. This will be good for our community. These are the polls. These are the stats. They've spent money. We've had consultants do all of this work. We have a committee that does all of this work. And then we say, no, that's not what we want. The majority wants, because it's not good for raising taxes. But 75% shows that all of the millages that were out there this past year, by a landslide, all of them passed. So my issue is not us in particular. It's that we don't want to give the option to the people that voted for us to be here. We're only giving them the option that we want them to have, which is accept what's already happening or nothing. And that doesn't seem fair when we know that there's a potential that this could pass at a higher rate. So we're cutting them off at the knees. We're really just pretending with a bunch of lip service to give them what they're asking for. and they're going to be happy. Why? Because they don't have a choice. We're taking away their choices. And when you take away someone else's choice, that's taking away a democracy. Thank you.
Any other comments? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. So I want to be respectful of all of the comments that have been made from the public as well as those here on the dais. And you know, as probably the only accountant on the dais, I want to be clear that even though taxes would be raised, the fact that people can't work right now because they can't afford childcare, you know, and then we are also with the current language as it stands here, we are saying do more with less. So this millage, by expanding the level of services that can be provided with the same amount of money, we're in essence saying that even though we know if inflation technically is coming down, but we know inflation in the personal, the community's pockets is not felt the same way that the economic reports show it. We know that by saying that you do more, that you're going to have to do more with less, we're imposing a level of inflation by expanding services at the same level of funding. So people are not getting more, they're actually going to they're going to have less. And so although I'm happy to move this forward so that there is something, we're saying do more with less and hope for the best, because the pandemic started in the middle, right at the beginning of when this funding was allocated, and you don't have enough data for us to be comfortable with what you might do with it. I feel like there is enough data. There is enough data to say that this is working, and at any new program, I work at a university, we give our programs multiple cycles of data to be collected before we start making decisions about whether or not the funding is it needs to stay at where it is or whether it needs to increase. And so I think that, I agree definitely with Commissioner Sparks. We're cutting this off at the knees. Again, this is definitely not a funeral comment. This is saying, hey, the economics, make it make sense, make the math. You can't do more with less and expect better outcomes, increasing outcomes. You have to invest if this is something that we want to be successful. And so the community is saying we want childcare. Fine, we added the language to the ballot, but we're not going to increase the funding to allow that to happen. That's where I think that this is wrong. Again, I'm not going to not vote for it because I want to make sure that there's something on the ballot, but increasing services without the funding is an unfunded mandate. Why? I thought that was something we were against. I've heard many people on this day say we don't agree with unfunded mandates. Well, that's kind of what we're doing here. So I just want to put that out there and say thank you for that second comment.
All right. Any other comments? Commissioner Antor, and just a reminder, please stick to the item on the agenda for all of us. Thank you.
I always do. We're just talking about our ability to pay more and, inflation, which is yes, out of control. What are people doing? We know now that 70% of taxpayers are living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, so they've always got this massive burden. More and more people are taking second and third jobs just to try to get by. And then we talk about tax and spend, which this basically is another tax and spend, and what type of return are we getting on our investment? That's the question. I think we don't really know the answer. We can listen to these folks out here, and I appreciate everything they said, but I need to know exactly how this money's going to be spent and where the money's going specifically and where we're at on prenatal, especially. What are we doing to improve a child's chances of survival that is still in the mother's womb? To me, that's as important as what happens to the baby afterwards. So are we going to be consistent in our love of babies before, during, or after? Or are we going to try to cover up for a multitude of sins by passing this? That's my question. It's something I wrestle with, and I'm going to keep bringing this stuff up because, like I said before, you can't ignore the reality of, like I say, this Health Code Act 368 being repealed. And what does that mean? And how can we not be repulsed by it publicly? I don't see anybody standing up and jumping up and down saying that's, criminal what they're doing. So I just want to keep this in perspective. Thank you.
Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Chair. I had a question that I hope you might be able to help answer, or Administrator Vandenberg. The language in the the resolution and all the discussions that we've had, it does not mandate increased services, correct? It's an option
Correct.
to expand services. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me just address that too. When our subcommittee met, that was something that came up, and we were asked to provide that option so the ballot language wasn't so limiting. But if we added that, they then were able to decide to use funds to put towards childcare. So they do have that option if there's funds available, if that's how the organization, when they're going through the disbursement process, they can choose to go that direction if they want to.
Okay, thank you. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? I just have a couple things to say. I think this is a win. The millage that we have here in our community, I see these are, there's a need for these dollars and programs. I had the opportunity to serve on the first millage subcommittee 6 years ago when this came to us, and I supported it then. So this is a great community investment. The concept of a millage dedicated to addressing early childhood needs was new at the time, and it was never done in the state. It may have even been first in the nation. When we approved the millage to be on the ballot, we made a commitment to the public to track and measure if this concept was working for us and for our community, and to prove the programs really made a difference for kids between the ages of 0 to 5. So as expected, First Steps Kent took a couple years to ramp up programs as they received the Ready by 5 millage funds. Just as the group was about to launch, we all know what happened in 2020. COVID changed the dynamics of face-to-face interactions with children and their families, and I believe this hindered the impact of Ready by $5, and we could have done, more with those dollars at the time, but we were limited. The millage is now in its 6th year, and so many of the children that have been participants have just started kindergarten recently. The available data on kindergarten readiness is based on a small cohort, and while I believe there have been many successes and there's many strong programs that are part of this, I believe the taxpayers deserve to have a full set of data before increasing the millage. It's a great community investment, but I believe that there's an unfinished formal assessment of outcomes and the effectiveness of the millage. So in the subcommittee last fall, there were discussions about expanding the millage to include addressing the increased needs revolving around childcare. While I'm aware of the significant needs, I'm a mom. I have young children now that are in middle school. They don't require as much direct care, but I completely understand being a working parent about the childcare system and what it's lacking. I believe that there's many angles that can be addressed, and would like to see more involvement with our businesses, with the state level initiatives, because it's bigger than a Kent County issue. So I will be continuing to talk to our legislators and looking at this at the state level and working with people in the business community to bring this issue to light. This millage, as I've said, is a big win for all of Kent County. It shows we are dedicated to helping our smallest citizens and giving them a start in life. There's many studies that show the impact of early childhood programs, and some have been mentioned here, and the positive outcomes that they can have later in life. This is important. This millage is important, and First Steps Kent has done an exceptional job managing the funds and the programs. And I also appreciate the staff who's worked hard on this report and supported us as a millage subcommittee, and hearing from all the community members who spoke to our groups. So I do believe this millage is important. And I think my colleagues here also agree that, we want to support this, but we want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward with the data related to the millage that's available. So with that said, is there any other questions or comments on this? Yes, Commissioner Antor.
I missed the last slide. Just a reminder that by raising taxes continually and we're spending, I call it monopoly money these days because it's not real money, it turns out to be debt in a lot of cases. We're forcing people to take on new jobs, forcing them. What is that? They're going to need childcare all of a sudden, whereas they didn't before. So we're in a vicious cycle, and it's a self-created hardship that we're creating, that we have been through this orgy of spending, whether it's federal money, ARPA funding, whatever it is, we've gotten to a mode where nobody wants to work, or a lot of people don't want to work, and you see it by all the help wanted signs and people still going to unemployment office. We're creating this mess. And we need to connect those dots. So if we're going to force people to pay higher taxes and they have to take on more jobs, yeah, they're going to need babysitters in a lot of cases. So it's a circle. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak this morning? All right, I think everyone's gotten their opportunities a couple times. So with that said, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Nope. All right, motion passes. Our next item on the agenda comes from the Sheriff's Office, and it's a request to accept the Burn Justice Assistance Grant through the state of Michigan to reduce community violence.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept an Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, or JAG grant, from the Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance, and administered by the Michigan State Police to support the Urban League of West Michigan's work to reduce community violence, to appropriate $125,000 to the FY 2024 Sheriff's Special Project Fund budget, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the total award. Summary. The Sheriff's Office has seen a dramatic increase of juvenile crimes throughout the county, many of which contain elements of violence. The Urban League of West Michigan desires to address this issue and has looked to the Sheriff's Office to be a partner in this effort. The goal of the grant is to reduce and reverse increasing rates of community-based violence among youth and stop community residents' exposure from this violence. This will be accomplished by providing conflict interruption and mediation to deter violent behavior focused on changing attitudes towards violence. In particular, the objectives are to work intensively with senior high school students who are at risk of involvement with gun-related violence/homicides, to engage students in training to strengthen their interpersonal communication skills in order to acquire and employ alternative strategies for avoiding or de-escalating potentially violent situations, and design an evaluation model to assess the effectiveness and impact of the project. The grant period runs from 1/1/2024 through 9/30/2025. Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents as to form.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod, support by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments regarding this? Commissioner Sparks.
Well, I'm really excited about this partnership with the Urban League. And it's just kind of different because we're looking at it from a different perspective with partnership and making sure that the residents, that are in fear now have some type of support. So it's a different way to look at it. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, we're really glad to be bringing this program. They have done this program for a little while now. It's been a few years, but they needed a partner in law enforcement to be able to accept this grant. So we started to work with them to develop a strategy to assist them. But they are doing really good work. We are seeing progress with some of the focused young people. And as we know, that's throughout the county. It's not a focused area just within the urban core. We're seeing areas throughout Kent County that really could benefit from programs like this. So we're excited to be able to help them extend it. Yep.
Great. Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Green.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo what Commissioner Sparks said, the partnership between the Urban League and the work that they're doing and these law enforcement groups. Obviously, the Urban League, highly connected in communities of color, and the work that they've done for a long time there. And obviously, we've had some tension between law enforcement and communities of color in the last few years. So this is a great opportunity. I appreciate you bringing it to us.
Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. I can't help but think about our former Commissioner, Dave Polkowski, who often used an analogy and never quite understood about infants in the river. But it was always about trying to tackle issues systemically rather than dealing with them on a surface level. And when I see this, because historically we've used JAG grants for equipment purchases, which equipment is necessary, also good. I'm not going to deny that, but the fact that we're able to use this to start tackling some of the roots of reducing violence is really exciting. And I know that these are annual grants, and sometimes there are other pressing needs. So I just hope that I guess my question is, should this be successful, do we have a plan to kind of continue past 9/30/2025? Is it the hope that this will become a JAG request going forward, or is it some other strategy in mind so that we can, if this is successful, we can continue it? Because it's not like 1 year of
Right.
good programming is going to solve it.
So I think a couple points on that. It is an existing program. It has been successful, and I believe it'll continue to be successful. Justice grants are very, they set the guidance at the federal level, and they generally will have a focus group for a focus area for a period of time that we will have to be within as we request these funds. And then similarly, in this circumstance, we need a partner organization to do it with. So in this case, it's a win-win. I would hope that these grants would be available to extend it. But, you know, the benefit, and I think this is a really important thing, when you develop a core infrastructure in a community, it's a lot easier to get grants to support the core infrastructure to continue good work rather than to develop programs. Basically, you're chasing grants by developing programs that meet a grant requirement. So the Urban League's done a lot to develop the core programming. And then to be able to supplement their work with grants is much easier and I would say more sustainable over time. So we'll continue to look for those partnerships, and we partner in other ways too. We'll continue to develop that because it's a win-win for our community when we do that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Sheriff.
Morning.
I was just curious, I'm definitely in favor of this grant. I was wondering, though, did we not give money to the Urban League with our ARPA funding? I was wondering if that amount.
They were awarded $4 million to set up CDFI, a Community Development Finance Institution. You also awarded a couple million to the Hispanic Center of West Michigan for the same. So that ultimately will be a program where individuals can loan funds for economic development purposes and that sort of thing.
Is
So
it
that
earmarked?
completely separate from this. Yeah.
Specific, so that money has to be used for economic development?
For the purposes for which the CDFI set up, and economic development was the main thing, yes.
And we are tracking, we're going to be tracking somehow us, or how do we track all those types of grants?
We will be. It hasn't been completely set up yet.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sheriff.
All right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes. Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. That brings us to our miscellaneous item on the agenda. Is there any Commissioner miscellaneous? I just wanted to, again, thank staff and all those who worked on the early childhood millage on the subcommittee. I appreciate all the time and effort put in and all the conversations that we were able to have. I look forward to watching the requests move through the legislative committee and then also to the full board in a couple weeks. So is there any other Commissioner miscellaneous? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned, and our next meeting will be on Tuesday, February 20, 2024 at 8:30 a.m.